right, everybody, we're finally back in the E46 ZHP. It's been a little bit of time. I haven't taken this car out in almost a month now. Just been, quite honestly, kind of distracted. So today we're going to be talking about something that is a little silly. I will say I'm kind of saying it with a little bit of fun, but it's going to be on the topic of why this car, which is now pretty much 18 years old, is better than most new cars today. So we're in the old E46 ZHP, 18 years young, and of course you can tell by the title of this video why I think this car is still better than many new cars today. And really the underlying reason, which I'm sure you guys can understand if you're watching this channel, is the way that it makes me feel. So if you bought your car, you probably might have similar reasons. Your car makes you feel a certain way, or you bought it for certain reasons. For a lot of people watching this channel, they're probably more enthusiast based, and they probably purchase vehicles a little bit more emotionally than other people, which I think is the right thing to do. Life's too short to drive slow, boring cars. Why not buy an old, slow car? Like I said, slow, but still fun. Okay, so even with that said, we're having a little fun. The biggest thing, you know, the specs aren't really important to me in general with cars. They're a factor, and they are part of what makes a car, and what makes a car feel a certain way, probably. But I think for this car, more than anything, is the pleasure that it gives for the driving experience. So it's not going to throw you back in your seat. It's not going to win races or whatever, if that's what you're into, but it does drive really nice. The steering, honestly, for a non-M car is, I really couldn't ask for much more. Quite honestly, when I got this thing, I thought it would be junk. Like, I thought that the steering, I just didn't think I would really like enjoy driving this car like I actually do. Very surprised at the fact that I do like driving this car as much as I do, for, you know, how slow it is relative to whatever, the M3 or something like that. So, and the M3 is not even like that fast compared to modern standards. So with that said, I say this kind of as fun because this car is fun to drive. The suspension, I think, is a big part of the reason. The suspension, the steering rack, and if you put decent tires on it, it is rear-wheel drive. It has a lot of those sort of enthusiast factors that make a big difference when the car is a little bit older, for example. So age doesn't show quite as much, I would say, if you have the balance of sort of the more fun factors still present today, which the 6-speed manual is a huge must. That never feels dated. 6-speed, you know, besides bushings or whatever that need replaced, 6-speed will never feel dated. It feels just as good as when it was brand new, besides the fact that you have to replace some parts and pieces here. So that's probably one big thing as to, you know, why this car still feels modern enough for me. I will say also, this is a little funny. You know, it's the only non-V8 in the garage right now, which is kind of funny. When I had the M5, actually, it was all V8s in the garage, now that I think about it. But I'm not a V8 fanboy, but it's just one of those natural things that just kind of happen. You find cars that you like, and they have very constant things in common. So that's probably part of the reason there's more V8s than anything else. But for being an inline 6, you know, this thing does sound pretty good. I don't really have plans to like modify the exhaust. It's more of a chill car, despite how I'm driving it right now. Driving it more aggressively than I normally do, but it goes, and it is fun, you know, for that reason. So another thing that I have mentioned in a few videos ago is regarding the depreciation or lack thereof for these cars. I got lucky, I found a really good deal, but even in general, unless you're putting, you know, tens of thousands of miles on these things, which is fine. I mean, that's why the car exists, is so you can drive it. You know, you're not really going to lose a lot of value buying a new car as much as the economy's crazy right now, you buy a new car, you drive off the lot, it's losing money. And most normal generic cars that are kind of like appliances, you know, the Corollas or whatever, like just a normal car, they're not going to be worth what they were when you bought it. For this car, I got lucky. It's actually worth double what I bought it. It's a good spec, it's a manual, and it's in really good shape. So pretty much no matter how many miles I put on this thing, I'm guaranteed to get at least my money back and then some. So I'm not one to say that I'm flipping cars and I know the market and all these things, but the market's very strong, and it's even strong for non-M cars, which to me is kind of amazing, but that's the world we live in right now, I guess. Yeah, it's funny, you know, for being, like I keep saying, for being a non-M or a, you know, this car wasn't built as a track or a performance or some insane, you know, car. It was a normal car that they just kind of beefed up the suspension and made a little more sporty, but in fact, they did a pretty good job of it, even 18 years later, and I will be the first person to tell you the car's not good. I mean, it's not fast, as I've said a million times, but it's pretty good for the price. I mean, I would rather have an E46 M3, don't get me wrong, but for what it is, I have a hard time really complaining too much. So I know this video is not quite as precise and sort of directed with my points as I would like it to be, but I am enjoying the drive today. It's a moderate 60 degrees. We've been having some terrible weather, so it's nice to have like clear skies, sun, and no rain. So I'm really enjoying the drive. So one more thing I was thinking about is the design of this car and the way it looks. The inside is okay. It's not my favorite. It definitely looks a little dated, but without an infotainment, it looks fine. Like there's no weird screen that doesn't work. It's just a normal like little thing that says the radio station number or whatever. I mean, there is nothing to look dated. It's just buttons. So that is a huge win for a car that's older. In the day and age of, you know, modern car design and all these things that they're doing, you know, it's just crazy how like a normal, you know, not generic E46, but a normal car like this, in my opinion, looks so good, especially compared to the new cars now. I don't know what they're thinking, and I hate to sound like too old school or stuck in, you know, the old school ways, because I'm all for, you know, the change of the times or improvements or things like that, but a lot of the designs nowadays, I feel like they're just throwing out ideas to see what sticks. And I know that that's happened over the years, and BMW has definitely had some pretty terrible designs. But I think this one was really good for being, you know, like I keep saying, a normal car. All right, yeah, it's smooth, it's predictable, it's not going to scare you. If you're getting into BMW and you're very price conscious, this is probably a good car. All right, guys, with that said, I'm probably gonna try to end the video here. If you guys are looking to get into BMW, you're looking for kind of a more fun daily driver that's, you know, not going to be quite as hot as an E46 M3 or quite as, you know, expensive as, you know, an M car or something like that, you know, this one's probably pretty good. It's worth checking out. If you can find a ZHP, of course, you know, the ZHP is essentially, you know, the sport version of the E46. It doesn't have a different engine. It's tuned differently, and, you know, there's a few other things like that, like the suspension, which quite honestly makes a pretty big difference. So if you're getting an E46, I think at minimum you want a ZHP, and you definitely want the manual, no question. You definitely want the manual, because an older car, you don't want the auto. A slow car, auto, you're just gonna fall asleep like any other car. So the fact that we have those variables, rear-wheel drive, manual, sedan, to me is actually kind of cool. It makes this car feel very special, way more unique. The color is nice. what more can I say? So once again, comment below if you guys have one of these things. I do enjoy sort of providing updates and things like that, and I realized it was a little bit of time, so I wanted to give that to you guys, give you guys some information on the ZHP. I'm still enjoying it, and thanks again for the support, guys, and I will see you next time.